Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Legal Lounge. My name is Silva Megadichian, and I'm actually a criminal defense attorney here in Los Angeles. I represent adults and children anytime they're arrested. Been doing it for quite a long time, was a former public defender, and now I'm on my own. I wanted this opportunity, everyone, just to talk to you guys, get some frustrations out, talk a little bit about the law, and invite you all also, if you have any questions or issues. The state bar prevents me from giving advice, but we can talk about stuff and just try to understand the legal system, which I understand and learn every single day, even after 17 years in it. Today, I wanted to talk about something that's been bothering me. As children are coming back to school, they have so many pressures on them, right? Between, trying to fit in and social media, which a lot of us at their age never dealt with as parents. And something kind of brings this up again to me. There was a threat in Austria of the Taylor Swift concert by three teenagers. The youngest one was 15 years old. Then you had the Trump shooter. And again, I don't want to get political. I just want to talk about the facts. The shooter was a 20-year-old male. By all accounts, he was isolated, really had no friends, was bullied relentlessly. What makes this 20-year-old want to go into such a public forum and try to shoot someone and kill them at 20 years old? Did he really think he could make it or make a name for himself? And what is it about these young people that make them want to do crazy things? I've been representing kids for over 17 years. I started in the public defender's office where, it was the first opportunity for me to represent a young man who was in a gang and made a horrible decision to try to fit in, and he decided to shoot someone. He had a mother who was in prison, a father who was never present. Those cases you can understand because these children are from broken homes with absent fathers and mothers. But you have a kid in the Trump arena who had a mother and father who are cooperating with police, who, by all accounts, are professionals. You have these Austrian teenagers that were born in Austria. They weren't even born in an ISIS-led country. They were born in Austria. And you wonder what happens. Well, let me be straight. Isolation, bullying, not being accepted by your peers, from what I've seen, it makes children really isolated, alienated, and those feelings will lead to wanting to join groups that probably don't have their best interests at heart. In the Austrian case, it was ISIS who recruited them via the internet. For the Trump child, it was, joining a shooting group, which is fine. Some children do phenomenally with guns. They know how to use them correctly, reasonably, have good heads on their shoulders. But when you have a child who, and the parent, I feel like the parent always knows if their child feels isolated, doesn't feel like they're treated right in a school setting or any setting. Children can be cruel. I remember when I was a child, I certainly had my struggles of not being accepted. I didn't look different. I did look different. I acted different. I came from a family, who was not born in the United States, who had a very different culture. Um, that kind of experience can turn one into two ways, right? You can have a child who excels academically, who cares more about academics than, getting into a environment that's so dangerous for them. Or you have a child that's so yearning for acceptance that will maybe join an online community, that will, get into the rabbit hole, if you will, of bad influence. I always tell parents, when I get them, it's too late, right? They've already committed a crime and they've been arrested, and assuming they're guilty. Because, again, I've represented quite a few who are innocent. And a lot of people ask me why I love representing kids so much. I always tell them because children are the ones that actually change their lives and become better. It's not like we throw them into state prison and they never come out or they reoffend. I've realized with my experience that if we put in the proper programs to help them, they won't recommit. So a lot of parents then ask me if I see warning signs. First, what are the warning signs? Well, the biggest warning sign is isolation. You have a child that has a miserable experience at school, that comes back home crying, or doesn't want to open up about just the most average aspects of their day. They just shut down, and maybe they'll go and they'll focus in video games for hours of the day and not come outside. They lack that need to talk and express themselves. Now, a lot of teenagers play video games, don't get me wrong, but you couple that also with lack of communication. When you see your child suffering, my first advice is go directly to the school administrators and tell them, my child is being relentlessly bullied. Please, can you help him or her with either counseling or just make sure he's protected. And you'd be surprised. Unfortunately, a lot of schools don't understand the issues of bullying and maybe ask the bullies to stop or talk to their parents, and they don't follow up with the child. That's a big problem for me. And again, there are lawsuits which, when things go too far, parents will have the right to sue the school for not taking action. The second aspect also is a child who really has a huge online presence. I encourage parents, make sure you check their social media. The Trump shooter, the irony, he had no social media. There was no cries for help. There was no behavior or groups that he was affiliated with. But in 99% of my cases with my kids, there is social media, and there's a lot of troubling materials that are posted, and the child needs to understand everything they post has a footprint, and everything they post can be used against them. So it's not a bad idea. And if your child says, well, it's private and this is my life, you can say, well, first, it's not private because you don't know who's actually viewing it. And secondly, you're living under my roof and I want to protect you. And I highly encourage that. The next step also to just helping your child. Look, mental health, it's not a bad word. I always tell people, we never judge when someone has a diagnosis, God forbid, of cancer or a heart issue. Why are we so quick to judge mental issues? And in this day and age, with all the social media pressures and pressures in general, if your child is unwilling to open up to you, try to find someone, a therapist. Maybe if your child is a boy who feels more comfortable with boys, get a male therapist, or a girl she can really benefit from a female therapist, and have them know that they're in a safe place where they can talk to someone about what they're feeling. Now, I just want to add a little aspect to that too when it comes to therapy. Please advise your children not to open up too much. And what I mean by that is, unfortunately, they will report whether the child, and the child could not be serious about it. They could say something like, sometimes I just wish I can drop a bomb on a school. To say that to a therapist does have a legal obligation to actually report this. So you want to make sure that the child just talks about their real feelings and not about exaggerations. And just to let them know that this person is here to support you, to help you. And I will tell you, again, when children come to me, and when I say children, it's anyone under the age of 18, it's usually too late. They've already gotten into big trouble. And so when we get therapeutic intervention, I cannot tell you enough how much this benefits children. And it could really benefit before something happens when it's too late. It can help them actually get the tools to just understand they're not alone. They are being heard, they're being seen. Also, I just want to say one last thing before we run out of time. Sports or some kind of school activity. For me, I joined, and don't judge, chess club, and it helped me because it was a lot of academic kids who also didn't feel accepted, who found an organization that cared for them. I also tried volleyball too. And though I was horrible, those friendships lasted. Get your kids into sports, get them into activities, force them out of their isolation and talk to them. And 100%, please go through their social media. It doesn't make you a parent who doesn't care or a parent who's too focused on knowing everything. All you are is a parent who wants to keep their child safe, make sure they're not getting bullied online, make sure they're not getting recruited by some group that's promising something that they could never deliver. Um, you're doing the right thing, and it's just unconditional love. Anyway, thanks you guys for joining me. And next week, I think I'm going to come back with something that might educate all of us on what to do when you're arrested. You don't want to miss it. Take care, everyone.